We've got a quick screencast here to explain your civil rights end of the unit project. We're calling it a civil rights challenge, and our challenge to you is to pick a figure in the modern civil rights movement from really any area. Doesn't have to be African American civil rights, could be Native Americans, could be Asian Americans, could be Latino Americans, like any group that you're interested in. Find a person that's important to that particular area of civil rights and do research on them with the end goal of creating a learning aid, some kind of tool or resource to help teach others about the person that you're studying. So you can read through the introduction here if you want, but I just want to note you can't pick some of the most common names in the civil rights movement. You can't study Dr. King, you can't study Rosa Parks or Jackie Robinson, or John Lewis that we've studied, or even Linda Brown from Brown v. Board of Education. You've got to find someone that's lesser known. And remember, our goal, our standard for this unit, which is listed right here, you want to create a learning aid designed to educate others about the civil rights movement and how one person in particular was an advocate for access to greater rights for a group. And what you're really looking at are their efforts to eliminate discrimination. That relates back to the Wisconsin State History Standard, examine different goals and methods of groups who have advocated for access to greater rights. And there are examples in the parentheses below: women, religious groups, civil rights groups, indigenous peoples, or maybe LGBTQ movement. Things to consider underneath here: you're going to want to consider the person that you're studying, the history of the rule or practice or Jim Crow law that they are struggling against, the method that they chose to challenge that particular rule. We've discussed a lot of different methods in class throughout this unit. They probably used one or a couple different methods. What resulted from their efforts? Were they successful? Did they make a change? Why or why not? You're going to be researching this over about the next week, and then you're going to be creating that learning aid that I mentioned earlier. And that learning aid could take a lot of different forms. It could be a short documentary. It could be some kind of animation, a song or music video, an online museum exhibit, a game, a children's book, a comic strip or graphic novel, or something we just couldn't think of because we're too old and you have a better idea of what you want to do. To get you started here, we've got some options. You could go to your textbook. We've got different sections on these different movements for civil rights in our textbook. You could use any of those. We also have some websites that are devoted to civil rights leaders from different groups. You could go through one of these to try to find a person that interests you. And we've just got this long list of projects that other students have done in the past, or at least the topics that they've used for their projects. All these different civil rights leaders, most of them have a little description about what group they're associated with and what they did. You can use any of those resources to make your choice. But it's real important that you pick someone or an area of civil rights that interests you. You're going to be working on this for a while, and you want to pick something that piques your interest. It'll make the time go faster. Your research will be more interesting, and I believe you'll be more committed to creating something that truly helps others. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask your instructor.